Hi football fans, my name is Cillian O'Grady, the Irish Flying Canary and long-time Norwich City fan. Welcome to the third edition of the Beyond the Barclay podcast, focused on travelling supporters O'Grady away days. In this episode, we'll focus on the town of Burnley and specifically Turf Moor, the home of the Clarets, Burnley FC. For many Norwich City fans who were in Plymouth at the weekend, it's another long journey, this time up north to Burnley on a Friday night. Playing the real title contenders in Turf Moor, it's going to be exciting. This podcast will hopefully give you an insight into getting to Turf Moor and back home safely and enjoying all that Burnley and the north of England has to offer. And given that the Clarets are hosting Sheffield United and Millwall before the end of the season, this will hopefully serve as a useful guide to other supporters too. There are probably not many of us going to fly to the match, unless some of the other international Canaries or Clarets or fans are planning the trip. Although Burnley doesn't have its own airport, it is well served by local airports, with Liverpool, Leeds and Blackpool airports all close, as well as, of course, Manchester, which is where I'll be flying to and taking the train from there. I have to say hello to some good friends, Harrison, Sean, Tim and Sam Green, who I all met first at the Burnley Cricket Club a number of years ago before a Clarets versus Canaries match, and have become good friends since. Of course, I'm no expert in Burnley, so I'm delighted to be joined by two very special guests on the show who can no doubt give us a much better insight. A Manchester-based Canary and regular media contributor to publications like The Pink 'Un, Joe Pateman, and Clarets fan and regular contributor to Where Clarets Walk podcast, Jordan Ellis. You're both very welcome to the show, lads.
Nice to see you.
Maybe we could start with you, Jordan, and tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a Clarets fan.
I think I began my journey when I was about 5 or 6. My uncle took me on my first game, which were Colchester United versus Burnley. I think on the day we lost, I think it was a 2-1 defeat. Not really understanding the whole tribalism and what it meant to be a Burnley fan. Obviously, as I've got older, I was born in Burnley. I've lived there my entire life. I went to school within, a stone's throw from Turf Moor. So being around it and within the vibe of what Burnley is, it kind of grows in you. Being from Burnley, the tribalism and this is, pardon me for swearing, it's a shithole, but it's our shithole kind of thing, and that's kind of just ingrained in you. So yeah, it started off very young, and I've just carried it on, and now I'm ingraining it into my children the same way it was to me.
Wow, brilliant. And what about you, Joe? What brought you to Manchester or the Manchester area?
Well, yeah, so I lived in the city centre of Manchester for about 15 years. I came up in the summer, just after we were relegated to League One. So all the locals thought I was pretty mad doing a 4 or 5 hour journey to go watch League One football, but we know how that turned out in the end. But yeah, I moved here for work. Never looked back. It's nearer 16 years now, and just in South Manchester, so close to Stockport, which no one's ever heard of Romley, where I'm from, but it's a small village with 10 pubs. So if anybody knows me, that just about suits me.
That sounds like a good village.
I've heard of Romley, to be fair. I've heard of Romley.
Oh, thanks, Jordan. I didn't think anybody had.
So starting with you, Jordan, a typical match day ritual for you for a home match. What's it entail?
I think mine's quite unique. I think mine starts days before, in turn. But if it's a Saturday game, I've got to be getting up, brushing my teeth, a little bit of Heroes by David Bowie, a little bit of Times Like These by the Foo Fighters. We keep that vibe going. Maybe we'll build up into a bit of Sweet Symphony. I don't know, just for the English part. I'm not too sure. Usually, for me, it's got a bit now. I used to drink beer. I don't anymore. I knocked that on the head quite a while ago. So now my ritual is a big 2 litre bottle of Iron Brew. Get myself ready for the game. Get a bit of sugar flowing. It used to be when I used to go on with my younger brother. It used to be a quick stop at the it's now the Royal Dash, but the Princess Royal pub. He'd get a quick JD, I'd get a quick pint of lager, and maybe one more on the various pubs on the short journey towards Turf Moor. But that was more our ritual.
And you living close to the stadium or within?
Well, I used to live quite close. I used to live about 4 streets away from Turf Moor, to the point when I was really young. If I opened my bedroom window, I could hear the roar from the fans. And now I live a couple of towns away, but it's still very easily commutable.
Okay, and is there any difference then with a nighttime match like this week's Friday match?
I'd say there is a difference. It's a strange one. I know it might be a bit different for you boys from down south because it's usually considerably warmer. But it seems to be any nighttime game, whether it's midsummer or the death of winter, it is freezing. So I would wrap yourself up. I don't know what it is. Sometimes you get that nice summer, summer heat that it's settling down, but you don't get that at Turf Moor. It is constantly freezing.
And Joe, your sort of routine for an away match like this one, what's it like?
It's a bit different with it being a Friday night. I think things have changed a bit. So obviously it was due to be a Saturday. A few of the lads were going to come up. We were going to make a big day of it. My mate Ben's turning 40. So we were going to do big celebrations. And then now it's the Friday night. It's rush out of work, drive up, find one of the normal parking spots to do at Burnley. Not as good. I'm looking at the trains, see if I can squeeze in a quick pint. But I think it's going to be shoot out of work. I hope nobody sees me dart off too quickly. Get back here, drive over to the game, and then squeeze one quick pint in, probably at the cricket ground. Although it's quite nice in the outside bit in the away end. Although I've acclimatised to the cold that Jordan's just told us about after being up here for so long. So hopefully enjoy one or two, especially when I get back as well. But if it's a Saturday, it's great because I'm so used to such a long journey for a home game and several away games. If we're playing Burnley or anybody that's close to Manchester, it's a nice lie-in. I get to actually watch like some Sky Sports in the morning. My fantasy football team's not a joke because I've got some time to actually take the time to look at it. So yeah, it's usually much preferred when we're playing away up north.
It's cool. And so in terms of travelling there, any guidelines or tips, lads, for driving or getting the train or bus? What's the handiest way to get there?
I'd say personally, I'd always leave yourself a little bit more time. I know some places, like your grounds for your one that springs to mind, your Etihad, it's kind of out the way. Burnley's slap bang centre of Burnley. So give yourself a little bit of time, almost prepare. There isn't vast amount of parking. There's a decent amount, but not a vast amount, so they will fill up quite quickly. If you were driving up, it'd be give yourself plenty of, time to play in between.
And what about trains and buses? Is it well served, apparently?
Yeah, well, it depends which way you're coming. So usually, if you're coming from up south, you'll do the interchange at Preston, and then it's a northern line from Preston towards Colne. You'd want to get yourself off, which would probably be the best place, would be Burnley Central, as that drops you off right at the top of Burnley, where Sports Direct is, and it's all a downward slope. You see the centre of Burnley. It's one big line from the Burnley Central down to Turf Moor. You could get off at Burnley Barracks and divert if it's a bit quieter for you. I mean, everyone's got a phone nowadays, everyone's got Google Maps. But yeah, you two would either be Burnley Barracks for a bit of a quieter journey or Burnley Central.
And what about you, Joe? You're driving there, you're going to park close by?
Yeah. Well, I think we're pretty used to the downward slope that Jordan was just describing this season.
Upward on the way back, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. For me, the trick of the trade I've done after going to so many games over the years is I used to use Just Park. So I used to get a postcode for somewhere, pay my £6, and then every season after that, just use the same postcode and park on the road outside the same very house. For Burnley, I can't remember the name of the road now, but I've got the same spot. It's about a 15-minute walk from the ground, so just about a mile away. And it's just right by the motorway as well, so we can get out of the town within snarls up for about 20 minutes, I think. And then, straight off and back on the motorway.
So for a lot of Norwich fans, I mean, maybe their first time on Turf Moor, what's the atmosphere like around the stadium before the game?
Contrary to what you'll see on Facebook and different polls and things, Burnley is booming. It's like I say, it's very tribalistic. I think it's the last polling where I think 90%, 95% of the people from Burnley support Burnley. Only it doesn't start in the ground. It starts, like George just mentioned, the second you get off the motorway. The second you hit around where Bannies is, or coming in at the drop down to where B&M's is, well, you'll get the whole feel as you walk through the centre. So the atmosphere is well, I think it's a good one. It was a little bit lacklustre at the start of the season because a lot of the fans were confused with what kind of football we were playing. But when it starts picking up, it can be quite an intimidating one to play against, I'd say.
Yeah, and what about for away fans, Joe? What's it like?
It's good. It's good. I really like going to Turf Moor. I was looking before coming on the pod how many times I've been going back on the years, and I think it's probably about 10 to 15 times I've been, and the fans are always great. You always have a good laugh. I think with similar clubs have gone through similar, we've followed each club through thin and thin. So we're used to kind of having those kind of chats about relegation from the Premier League or staying in there or whatever it might be. So it's always good chatting, but yeah, they're loud. So my dad always makes the joke when we play somebody up north like Burnley. It's like you can speak Northern now, translate what they're saying, and I can just about make it out. But yeah, great fans. It's always good to go there. It's a proper football ground. I really like it. I can't remember from the last time we went if it's still wooden seats. But yeah, no, always.
I think they've changed them. I could be wrong.
I can't remember. I remember like the first time I went there, I felt like I went back in time, which is probably like 25 years ago now. But it's a really great place to be, especially when we've not had many good times there in terms of results. We've always been in good song when we've arrived.
In terms of if somebody's a little bit thirsty, anywhere away fans should go to drink?
Now, I have jotted down a few. There were a few that sprung straight to mind, but with current cost of living crisis raising all that things, there is a couple of really good pubs that no longer exist anymore. I think your best one, your easiest one, you two boys have mentioned, is your cricket club, which is right next to Turf Moor. You can't really miss that. There is also the Bridge, which is on Bank Parade. You know, they do like import beers in bottles. It's real ale, lager, things like that. And what I did want to say for anyone coming up from Norwich, if you are to Google and it's to say, "Oh, go here," there is a place that'll pop up called the Talbot. The Talbot doesn't exist anymore, so just ignore Google on that one.
Cheers for that one, Jordan. Good tip.
No
And
worries.
what about for Burnley fans? Where do they typically hang out for a game?
So, we've got a few. So there's like the long strip, which we call as locals under the culvert. Or under culvert if you want to be northern. And that's it's the long road that starts where the bridge is, and then straight towards Turf Moor. So obviously your most famous one that'll be known to most fans would be the Royal Dash, which was formerly the Prinny Royal. To us, it's the Prinny, and it always will be. No matter how long it's called the Royal Dash, it's the Prinny. We also have the Miners, which is your very old style pub. It's very Phoenix Nights.
Okay.
But it's very rustic, very nice. There's the Big Winder, which is another a big hitter in Burnley, and the last one, which is a very nice newer pub, should I say, is the Park View, which is right across the road for Burnley fans.
Not very good. And what about if somebody's hungry? Joe, have you ever eaten in Burnley anywhere you'd recommend?
The pies are pretty good in the ground, but I can't think of anywhere. There's a McDonald's near, is it Manchester Road Station? There's a McDonald's there, I think it is, or a Burger King that so nothing that's out the order. Jordan's probably more the experts on that, but it's served its purpose after a few pints.
No fine dining anyway.
Not that I know. Jordan might correct me. Actually, we've got more than the takeaways there.
Yeah, no, we do. So I have jotted down a few, and I have gone, for both sides, because I know going to a few away games myself. I was of the lot of, I've had a few to drink now, I want fast food, but I do know there's people who will go for a sit down meal. So obviously, if you are looking for fast food, there is a place right across the road from the ground called the Turkish Best Kebab. If you want a good kebab, get yourself to the Turkish. There's also the Parkview Chippy, which is just behind the Parkview pub, so it's pretty self-explanatory, and that's over the road. Very good old-style Chinese chippy. And then if you wanted to have like a sit-down meal, I did put, of course, there's McDonald's as well, but Joe's covered that. And where doesn't have a McDonald's? If you did want to have a sit-down meal, there is a couple of places. So we do have a Brewers Fair. So I think if its name hasn't changed from when I was younger, it's called the Queen Vic. So it's a Brewers Fair, which is located across the road from the Premier Inn in Burnley. And we also have the Prairie, which is just a bit further on at the top of Burnley. If you want to hit somewhere, if you're a little bit cautious of coming into Burnley to eat and maybe you're a bit worried, there is one just on the outskirts, just as you come off the motorway, in a place called Rose Grove, and that's called Sycamore Farm, and that's like your all house carveries. Good food, and good pints on as well.
Sounds like some good tips there. And in terms of then the experience at the stadium for different fans, so for away fans, Joe, can you remember what it's like there in the away section?
It's good, yeah, because as you come out, there's that nice outside area. I think the last time we went there a couple of years ago was a night game, but we've had a couple of nice September days there. It's been quite sunny, so as you go in there, it's really nice. You've got a bit of an area, you can always get away with having a pint outside in the sunshine, which is nice because you're not just straight in surrounded by concrete, which is a bit different. I know there's a sign that says no ball games. Probably speaks what Jordan was saying about not sure what style of football they were playing. It always made me laugh whenever I see that. But it's a good experience. Then every time you're at Burnley, like the stewards are really good. The proper northern lads that are there, and it's always a good atmosphere because we're right behind the goal, which is always better. Shoved off to the side for away fans, like we did to the away fans at Carrow Road. It's not quite the same vantage point for the game, so always enjoyable.
Lovely. And what about the home fans? Where are the different spots for home fans to congregate?
Well, in my own opinion, with my own experiences, I've experienced every side of the stadium, which is it's called the North Stand now. It's the James Hargreaves is what it'll always be to me. So the James Hargreaves was Jimmy Mike the Bob Lord, and now the cricket field. Now for me, being a bit younger, and a bit, wanting to engage in the whole camaraderie, it's got to be the North Stand. It's got to be the cricket field for me. It's where the home fans sit next to the away fans. It's just constant clashing all game, singing them a song, they sing us a song. When the goals go in, you can, who are you kind of thing. They can give it you back. And it's just, I think it's a really good atmosphere all the way throughout the game. And what I do know, if you want to sing off against Burnley, they'll quite happily comply.
And is there any particular chant Norwich fans should be listening out for from the Burnley fans?
Yeah, so if we do take a 2-goal lead, say, you'll hear the chant. You've seen the Burnley, now F off home, and you'll get, and they'll let you know that they won't just say it once. They'll keep it going for quite a bit.
That's only after two, though, isn't
Yeah, they don't tend to do it after one.
it?
Because there's always that teetering edge that they could equalise and you'd look a little bit foolish.
I'll be on the other end of that one. Thank you.
What about you, Joe? What will the Burnley fans hear from the Norwich fans?
Well, Jordan, you may be familiar with the oldest song in football, of course, which is on the Ball City, which dates back over 130 years now. So we'll be singing that in Fine Song Friday night. But we've got some good songs this season. For the last couple of seasons, it depends who's playing, really. If we're 2-0 down and you're singing You've Seen the Burnley so far home, we'll be probably singing for Anel Hernandez to come on, or at least in my opinion. I'm not sure if people love the player or the song sometimes, so we're chanting for him, but that's what the person wants to get involved in. But yeah, I don't think there's been any particularly new ones this season that have really caught the imagination that I can think of. It's been a bit quieter.
Bit dull this season, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah. We don't win many away, Jordan. You'll be happy to know. The one that always annoys me is the one that's like, how shit must you be with winning away? You can see the players shaking their heads at that one. But if we do score first, you'll hear that one in a bit of song as well.
No, I like it when a team comes and they can have a good crack. Who were it now? It was this season, and it was some You're Nothing Special, we lose every week. I can't remember who it were, and I just thought, fair play to you. And Wales came down once. Swansea came down once, and they were like, sheep shagging bastards, we know what we are. And it's like, well, you can't say it to them now, because they've said it.
People don't realise how witty football fans can be at times when sometimes like some of the chants come back and it's sort of like straight in a second and you got like 2,000 people just stumped thinking what to shout back.
But when it's back and forth, it's hard to describe to people who've never experienced that, how brilliant that is.
Oh God, yeah.
You haven't lost at home this season yet, have you, Jordan?
No, we haven't lost it. No, it's not been the most exciting football, I can't lie. But I'm very much in the side of results. I'm a results man. Quite frankly, all this, I've come to be entertained. No, you haven't. You've come to see your team win. Ultimately. You could see 500 passes and lose 1-0, or you could long ball it all game and win 1-0. Which one would you rather see? I know which one I would.
Well, I think then, if there's any possibility of a miracle in Norwich winning, I think Joe will definitely have to sing that song for them.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Jordan speaking like a man that grew up on Sean Dyche football from the sounds of it there as well.
So I've seen a couple. I think when I first started, I can't remember who it was. My earliest memory was Owen Coyle, and then we got Brian Laws, and then we got Eddie Howe, and then we got Sean. Yeah, I've seen a few.
Very good. For fans who like to meet the players, is there any opportunity at Turf Moor to meet players?
Yeah, there is. There is. Now, the buses usually park next to where you've mentioned about the cricket ground to have a drink. Well, at the flip side of that is where all the buses park. So now, usually, when they've cleared out a bit, of a few people, usually it's okay just to nip round and wait out for the players. And it's located where the corner meets the corner of the north stand, the cricket field stand, and the away fan stand. So you'll see the coaches parked up.
Very good. And if somebody did want to stay around Burnley, any recommendations?
Now, this is the thing. If you go into stay around Burnley,
is it not a stay in town?
It's not that it's not a stay in town. It's the way you conduct yourself while you're there. Mainly, everyone in Burnley can have a laugh. Everyone can have the crack. But there's that fine line, and like I say, they're very, very tribal.
Yeah.
They don't really care about the score sometimes. If you come across that you're taking the piss a bit, you're going to rustle some feathers. 9 times out of 10, anywhere you go, you'll 9 times out of 10 be welcome with open arms. I wouldn't recommend staying about if you've won and you're trying to gloat, but if you wanted to just completely stay safe, I'd stay on your outer pubs, things like that. I certainly wouldn't start going under culvert to your Miners and your Princess Royals or things like that.
Yeah, it mightn't be very wise or safe. Outside of football, if somebody who's spending a bit of time in Burnley, is there anything you'd recommend they do or see or anywhere to go to?
Well, if you've got a bit of time, we do have some places to see. We have the famous Townley Hall, which is an old stately home from the I believe is it the 1600s.
Okay.
We have the singing ringing tree at the top of Pendle, which is
Reading,
it's just
reading about that. Is that interesting?
it's just a load of pipes that whistles. I remember it being
Plenty of wind around from what I remember, so it must be making plenty of tunes.
well. I used to see it from my school. I could see it on the top of the hill, and they used to walk us up to it, and they'd make a big day of it. You know when you used to blow through a pipe and it made a noise. Or you can do it with a beer bottle. Basically, it does the same thing, just on a bigger scale. For sightseeing, loads. We have a couple of decent parks. You know, if you wanted to, like, say, if you're taking young'uns and you know you wanted to kill a little bit of time before the game, we have Townley Park, Scots Park, Thompson Park, that are quite biggish, but they're not just like your little sideshow parks. They're quite, big land. So yeah, but on the way of sightseeing, there isn't loads to see.
And Joe,
There's a big
sorry, go on.
Sorry, go on. I said there's a big rusty B as you get off the motorway. I don't know why it's there. It's not even capital. It's just a lowercase b, and it's all rusty. So you can have a look at that.
Rusty B. That sounds like fun. Joe, anything you'd recommend people to do, even if it's not in Burnley, even around Manchester, and be coming
Yeah.
up north?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people from Norfolk travelling up that are like myself, National Trust members, and is it Gawthorpe Hall? Is it?
Yeah, that's where we our team train.
Is
Yeah,
that
go
what
for.
you Yeah, it's really nice around there. I've been once, and it's really nice. And if we've got 19 degrees up north, despite Jordan mis-selling the weather that we have up here earlier on, it's going to be quite a nice day. So I guess a lot of people are staying up for the weekend. If you're coming into Manchester, the one thing I'd recommend is the Football Museum, the National Football Museum.
1,000% brilliant.
Great, isn't it? So much stuff there. But what we got there? Three floors of just football history, just to soak up, and then you're only a 5-minute short walk from the Northern Quarter, where there's several good pubs as well. But if you're coming into Manchester, and there's a place called Cutterham Square in Anchor. That's where I used to live for a good few years, and there's a real ale bar, Seven Brothers there, great cocktail bar called Jane Eyre, which is really nice, really decent pub called the Edinburgh Castle, and they're all really, really close to each other. And then you're only 2 or 3 minutes from the main Northern Quarter if you're going to keep going to the earlier hours of the evening. So loads to do, and it's a nice drive from Burnley to Manchester as well. You get to see some sights along the way. So if anyone's into farm shops, there's a couple to stop off at as well, where you can go pay £10 for some jam or £7 for some shortbread on the way back. It's always worth it though.
Very cool, very cool. And Jordan, you touched on it earlier, just in terms of staying safe around Burnley. Any tips apart from the obvious of respecting the locals?
Yeah, no, just staying safe around Burnley. Just be everywhere's now. You treat it, well, this is how I would. Anywhere in the country, just treat it like a city. Just, don't be going down shady avenues that you don't know. Don't be going into like the cul-de-sacs. Stay away from places like that. Just stay in the main centre, and 9 times out of 10, you'll be absolutely fine. And if at any point you did feel uncomfortable, there's so many places near you that you can leave. So you've got the bus station in a stone's throw from the centre. You've got the train station, a 5-minute walk. You've many taxi firms around, but yeah, it just be don't be going venturing places that you don't know per se, because then I can't speak on that. Then 9 times out of 10 aren't going to be football fans, and I don't know what
Let me finish up with 2 questions for you, Jordan. One is tell us about the rivalry with Blackburn. We often talk about the rivalry we have with Ipswich, but what's it like between Burnley and Blackburn?
See, I know you have a big rivalry with Ipswich. Now, the thing with Burnley and Blackburn, it's not a rivalry; it's a hatred. Like there is no laughable. We can't stand them, and they can't stand us. It's even to the point where if you were at work and you would say, "Oh, who do you support?" and they were to go Blackburn, you'd think twice about speaking to them again. You think, "Ah, do I really want to?" Or vice versa. They call us the Dingles, we call them the Horse Fiddlers. But it's rooted very, very, very deeply. I think it was the first rivalry to ever come out of English football. Yeah, there's just a lot of hatred there. They do have one thing over us, and it's something we can never change. Is our postcode stands for Blackburn, so it's kind of a because we're BB, so that's
I think
Blackburn.
the one thing over you that was the league title they won.
I don't even count that. They say, "Oh, we want Premier League." No, you didn't. It weren't the Premier League.
And lastly, we sent one of your own back to you there at the beginning of the year, Ashley Barnes. How do you all feel about that?
Oh, you couldn't have sent him back earlier. He's an absolute god in our eyes. I remember saying when he came to yourselves, I remember sharing it and saying, "Take care of him," because he's done us well. Now, I said when he left, I didn't think he'd ever suit Norwich. That's more to the fact of the way Scott Parker plays. You can almost see the hints put in from how Sean Dyche used to play, and Ashley Barnes implements that massively. Now, for somebody who has a bit of a flashy style of football, like his name's escaped me, your manager, but I know He's got a flashier style. That'd never suit Barnes. Barnes is your rough and tumble, get in your defender's face, and he's there just to wind people up. And I think that's why he's become such a god to us.
What did you make of him, Joe, at Norwich?
We know how many points we've lost from winning positions this season, and Ashley Barnes' know-how that we've lost over the last few months. Like, where was it the other week? Was it Blackburn away where Sainz was messing about and didn't take it to the corner flag? Ashley Barnes wouldn't let that happen. For us, people think strikers, forwards were just about goals, but for him it was his communication across the pitch, the way obviously Sargent really looked up to him. You could see that in every interview, the way he brought his game on. And it wasn't just what you do on the ball a lot of the time, it's what you do off the ball. You got football, you divide the amount of possession, 95% of the time you haven't got the ball, and that's when Ashley Barnes was really important. You'd hate to play against him. You might hate to play with him as well, but you'd hate to play against him. He's always talking, always in somebody's ear holes, always in the referee's ear holes, and that has an impact. And those points that we've thrown away this season, if we have had his know-how coming off the bench and just taking the ball to the corner flag, or playing the right ball, making the right decision, we probably would be further up the table had we not let him go. And the impact on the dressing room as well. I thought we got a nice 18 months out of him, and it's a shame, but you can't fault him for wanting to go back to the club he was at for.
No, apparently his family never moved down when he moved, but I think he did a good job for us at Norwich. And it's funny, I was quite clear that obviously we've been given quite a bit of stick to ex-Norwich players this season, I feel, when we played against them, and I was really impressed with how wonderful the Burnley fans were in Carrow Road when Ashley came on. So.
Well, we couldn't sour him. It's same with Ash. We're a very loyal fan base. If if even with I'm sure you've seen what's going on with Matt Tresor at the minute. It's all come out that he might have had a bit of an illness, things like that. But if he'd just come out and said, this is a crack, he'd have had more respect from Burnley fans. There wouldn't have been a chant made about him. I personally don't agree with the chant. Let's back our own players. But yeah, no, it's a very big loyal thing. Sean Dyche couldn't ever dampen anything, but with us, Barnes couldn't. I don't think Dean Marnie could. There's a lot of players.
We had Dean Marnie on loan as well. He was good for us.
Dean Marnie, yeah, he's quality, isn't
he? Yeah, real good player. I think that's the thing. We have gave stick, like we had Mumba playing against us, Ballymumba for Plymouth at the weekend. He's getting loads of abuse, and we were singing his name when he was on loan from us scoring against Ipswich. So bit odd at times, but Cantwell deserved it at Blackburn. That was quite amusing, wasn't it?
It was funny.
Can I just quickly? How did you find him at Norwich? Because I did. He's been said to me like he's a second coming of Scholes or something. I don't see anything in him.
No, he had a good season when he first went up to the Premier League. There's some weird stuff going on with him off the pitch that we still have no idea about. He's always been really cryptic about it. He had some talent about him. But it's one of those players, if we could have sold him a couple of years earlier when the tabloids were talking silly fees, we'd have took it. He played an hour against us, against Blackburn, coming back from injury, and he didn't look great. And, since leaving us, Bournemouth, Rangers, it's just not worked out for him anywhere. He's 25 now, Cillian, something like that.
Much, yeah, he's still a young lad.
Yeah, nobody leaves Norwich and does particularly well. And we make big money off players. And then they end up like Godfrey. We've got 20 million plus for him, and now he's going to experience relegation with Ipswich Town.
Oh, dear me.
I think Josh Murphy's the only one who's really sort of made it with Newcastle.
Jacob, yeah. Well, I wrote about it the other week. Jacob won the League Cup. Sorry, John Ruddy. That probably doesn't really count. He won it as well the other week. But other than that, I think the last player before that was Maddison. Won the FA Cup with Leicester. And then there's a few over the years that have had some silverware. But then some of the players were sold for big money in the last 3, 4, 5 years haven't gone on to do much. Obviously, Sarar's probably going to win the Turkish Super League this year. But other than that, Ida can't always get in for Celtic, and we took £8 million.
Certainly have. Sorry, Jordan.
Oh no, I'm going to say, I think I could one trump up here and say I think we didn't fire Nathan Teller off. We lost Nathan Teller and he won the Bundesliga, so I think we did somewhat quite well.
Yeah.
Lovely. Listen, lads, on that note, we'll wrap up. I really appreciate you both cheering up, and I hope you both enjoy the game on Friday. I'm certainly looking forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cillian.
That's it for this episode of Beyond the Barkley. Thanks so much for listening. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. You can also catch all our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And if you've got any questions, stories, or topics you'd like us to cover, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, on the ball, City.